Hello and welcome to the Lost in Possession podcast. Three mates, three different teams, three very different opinions. Now, in this installment of our wonderful series, we are going to be talking all things transfers. Because as you know, the transfer market is soon to be open and the rumour mill has already started swelling. There are lots of things that we can expect. Maybe it will even be more exciting than last summer's transfer window. For example, will Rice muller his reputation with West Ham fans and make the move west in a dream return to Stamford Bridge, or Ten Hag's revolution at Manchester United? Or, will he stay at West Ham? Remains to be seen. We, of course, have all the drama coming out of Paris, which is certainly turning into a soap opera, with Pochettino reconfirming and making sure that the world knows that he and Kylian Mbappe will be staying at the Parc des Princes in the summer. And of course, we have other things going on too. Will City need to strengthen? What do Arsenal need to bring? There's talk of them bringing in a saviour in Gabriel Jesus. We're all going to discuss that in today's episode. Let's get the ball rolling. Start with any of them you like. Jordan, go for it.
So we'll start with the one is seemingly kind of done and dusted. With obviously Antonio Rudiger departing to Madrid, it seems. I think it's like 90% done. It seems devastating loss. There's no sugarcoating it for us. Under Tuchel, I said it previously. He has been for me kind of one, top three, maybe top five centre backs in the world in form wise under Tuchel. He's been phenomenal and. It's hard to sit here and say 100% we can replace a player of that quality and that form. So it's frustrating because if I'm being honest, it doesn't feel like this would have happened if the owner situation wasn't so, murky. I think Rudiger's agent is his brother. He's made a few comments that are a little bit, as we know, agents are, very questionable characters morally in most cases, and it does feel like there's a bit of greed being brought in on his agent's part. But as I've said before, it's very clear to me Rudiger's happy at Chelsea. He's loved his time, he's loved all the trophies, and he's happy on the pitch. He loves the fans and the fans love him. So devastating loss. In terms of replacements, I can't sit here and say 100% there's a direct replacement for Rudiger. Jules Koundé, who obviously we were almost, 99% transfer done previously. I believe that will come through this summer. I think Sevilla were being a little bit greedy last minute, wanted to get a bit more cash, and that's ultimately what happened. Koundé, for me, is the best opportunity in terms of quality. He's young. He's probably the most like for like, or the closest replacement we'll get for Rudiger. But as always, we might have to turn to our loanees and obviously our youth academy best in the world. One player who a lot of Chelsea fans have been keeping an eye on is Levi Colwill, currently on loan at Huddersfield, been absolutely phenomenal. I've seen some of the highlights. I've seen so many man of the match performances. So again, I'm not sitting here saying he's going to be the next Rudiger, but I hope we bring him back this summer. And I think we could see big things from him. And he obviously has to step up, but we've seen it with Reece James. We've seen it with players like Mason Mount. They've got the talent, they've got the ability, and I believe they'll step up. So hopefully we won't be completely out of it next season.
I think with the Rudiger leaving as well, obviously you've got Christensen, I believe, is also going to be leaving you. That's two centre-backs going from Chelsea, and then your remaining ones are Thiago Silva. Now, he is quality, but he's going to be, 37, something like that. Then you got Aspilicueta. I think he's now staying. There's still sort of like, he might be staying, might not be.
Yeah,
but he's quite old. Then you got Sarr. From what I've seen of Sarr, he's not obviously good enough to replace Rudiger. I think he'd be fine as a Christensen replacement, but then I think you've probably got to look for still two centre-halves. Now, one that's sort of being mentioned is the Pau Torres, who's at Villarreal. He's got a 60 million euro release clause, I think, that ends after this summer. From what I've seen of him, I still don't know if he's good enough for that top level. But for people who are out there, I don't see there being tons of options. What would you be? Would you be happy with Torres? Obviously, you'd rather Rudiger stay, but that's looking very not happening anymore.
Yeah.
Is Torres a good enough replacement?
I don't think I've seen enough in Torres to say categorically he would work. I think there's been a lot of hype around him recently, and probably justifiably so. Obviously, City, I believe, have been linked with him as well.
And
if those three clubs being linked with someone, you clearly got some talent. I think you're right with Sarr. I've not seen enough yet. I think he could be, quite a good Christensen replacement. We've got Chalobah as well, who, came out of relative obscurity at the start of the season. No one really thought he was going to be in the squad. And actually, in terms of, he's been extremely consistent when he's played this season. So he's another one, again, a young star who I can see stepping up to the plate when these gaps open up. But yeah, Pau Torres, I don't want to call it too early at this stage. I need to see more. But ultimately, look, if he's good, if the scouts are saying he's good, let's get him in, because
you need a centre back.
We need a pipeline of centre backs here. We don't want to be last minute. So yeah, we'll see.
Very
moving. Go on, Rhys.
I was just going to say, very interesting. I think just moving on to that, linking Chelsea here, and I think City can come into this as well. Declan Rice, he's reportedly rejected another deal at West Ham. He obviously is looking to move on to pastures new. He's been a good servant for the club. So do you think, Jordan, that he will be an addition to Chelsea this summer, or do you think he might join Man United? Or Jamie, feel free to jump in here. Do you think he's somebody that City need? I'm aware that he can fill, various positions. So it'd be great to hear both of your thoughts on that.
I think it's a great summer for him to want the move, because Fernandinho's leaving City. United need a centre defensive midfielder. I think everyone in the world knows that. And Chelsea are starting, I think, needing to freshen up the midfield slightly. I think Jorginho's sort of fallen slightly off the pace this year. You've had a few injuries, and Kante's getting older. So them three clubs obviously definitely can get him. I think for City, it's going to be too much with another transfer we're going to mention in a little bit. And if it is 150 million, I see it being a struggle for all three teams to put that money up. I think the most likely is Chelsea out of these. He's obviously mentioned it before. He's been caught on camera saying, I'd do well in a midfield three at Chelsea with Kante and Mount. He's obviously best friends with Mount, I believe, from sort of like childhood. So everything's pointing towards Chelsea. However, your ownership is the one thing that can completely stop you. What are you about, Jordan?
Yeah, so if there's ever one player I want to see in a Chelsea shirt, it's Declan Rice. And I can't see a possible Chelsea fan who will sit there and say we don't want to see Rice in the Chelsea shirt. The guy's 23. He's absolutely phenomenal. I'd also disagree with this whole kind of CDM role he's been pigeonholed with. He's actually shown this season in a West Ham shirt, obviously, what he can do going forward on the pitch. He can score, he can assist, he can do so much more than that CDM role. So for me, we have to sign him in the next few years. Absolutely have to. He should be top priority. As you touched on, Jorginho, obviously I'm not going to write him off yet. He was Ballon d'Or nominee like literally last year.
Somehow anyway.
Yeah, look, people don't rate him after he misses a penalty, but there's so much more to his game. But you're right, obviously he's getting older. And Kante, I never thought I'd see the day that I'm saying that Kante's had a bad spell of form. But in the last probably month or two, he's not been put in 9 out of 10s that he normally does. he's been putting in sort of, sevens and maybe a six in there. But yeah, I don't think this is going to happen this summer. I strongly don't think it's going to happen. Moyes has said we're not selling. I know Moyes isn't the guy who decides it. Obviously, Moyes just doesn't want to lose him. So obviously he's going to say he's worth 150 mil. He's not for sale. I think this will happen either next season or the season after when he's officially out of contract. We're not desperate for him now, I don't think. Again, remember, we've got Conor Gallagher coming back to freshen up the midfield as well. Loftus-Cheek stepped up a lot in the last few months. So we're not desperate this season. But in my opinion, we're desperate for him the season after. As you've said, the Chelsea Academy history, the comments he's made, the relationship with Mason Mount, and the prospect of having a Mount, Rice, Gallagher midfield three one day is enough to get you excited for the future. So I hope it happens, but probably next season or season after.
Really interesting. And Jamie, I know there's nothing really been massively linked with City at the moment, but even if they do win the league and the Champions League or one or the other, there's obviously ways that teams still improve. Do you think there's anybody that City should be going for in the market this summer in particular?
Well, I think there's the massive obvious one, which I think everyone was expecting it to be the biggest deal in the summer, but because of the release clause, it's kind of been dwindling down already, and that's Haaland. We need a striker. I know I think we're the second top goal scorers in the league after Liverpool this season, and we've been the top for years, but we do need a striker. We in the Real Madrid game, for example, there was countless times if we just had that actual focal point as a striker, he could have had a hat-trick that day. I've seen it when we played Palace and drew 0-0. If we had a striker, there was just balls across there that you expect a number 9 to put them away. In terms of other positions, we will need a centre defensive midfielder because Fernandinho is going to leave, and he's been phenomenal for us. But I think it's fine, fair enough. He wants to go and play more matches, but we need to sign someone who's going to be young and probably not that expensive. He's got to be more of a backup to Rodri at the moment. So that's why I don't see the Rice happening, because you're not going to spend 150 million on someone like that. And then we've always needed a left back, but I really don't see that happening because that's meant to have been the case for the past 5 years. But I think Haaland's the one, and I do think it's going to happen now. Seeing the reports that the likes of, I think, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Chelsea, United, Barca and Bayern, I don't see any of them coming in. It was between us and Real Madrid. And now you're seeing a lot of Real Madrid links going, we're worried about his injury record. It's all excuses saying we're not getting him, I think. So I'm really, really confident, actually. I'm not going to say it's 100% done because something might happen. You never know. Real Madrid might go, here's £1 billion a year. They're going to go, well, I'm stupid if I don't get that. So I think we're going to get our big summer signing of Harland, and that will help us massively. What about you, Reece, on the other end with Arsenal?
I'll go to Arsenal in just a second because I think it does link with City quite well. But I think Haaland is going to be the big addition for City. I don't think they're going to panic elsewhere in the market. They never do panic. But I do agree, though. I do think the injury record could be a concern. And I will say that Pep's record of getting the best out of his centre forwards isn't flawless. You know, Eto'o, he forced out the door. Ibrahimovic, he forced out the door, who are both world class. The same might happen with Harland. I don't know. But obviously, of course, remains to be seen. But of course, that means that Haaland will be taking the place of Gabriel Jesus, who, as you know, is a proven goal scorer at Premier League level. He's been linked heavily with Arsenal this summer. I mean, I think he'd be a great addition for Arsenal. I think he's proven he can score goals, and I think he fits the mould of what Arteta's trying to build. Do I think he's going to be the 30 goal a season sort of saviour? Not necessarily. I think he'll contribute a lot more than what Aubameyang has done over the last couple of years or so. And I think he'll offer something different to what Lacazette currently does. I think he'll work well. I think he'll fit that position well. And I think he's a player that Arsenal do need. And if they do get him relatively cheap, they'd be mad not to go for it. But I think Arsenal, again, there's a lot of criticisms of Arteta, but there is no need to panic in the market. He's definitely following Pep's mold there. There's no point going out to buy, Vlahovic turned us down in January, and I completely understand that. Why wouldn't he go to Juventus? So therefore, why should we need to sign a replacement? There's no point going for a player that we don't actually want and also get him at an inflated price, when we can go again in the summer. And I think Arteta's got that plan down to a T. I think there are other positions that could be filled out. I think a couple of contracts need to be offered out to someone, say, like El Nene, because he's a good backup option. And I think maybe just go for someone with a bit of, I don't know. I think maybe a bit more of an explosive midfielder could be of use. But I think more depth is definitely needed in that squad. I think we're going to have Saliba back, if him and Arteta decide that, it is going to work.
Get on, yeah.
But yeah, I think just more strength in depth, and I think don't need to go for young players. I think we need to go for experience, and I think ideally see if we can tap the market of players that have got a good experience and also have a good track record behind them in terms of trophy. Because I think you need that leader to get you over the line at times, and I think there are some players out there we could go for, realistic or not. But yeah, I think it's an interesting summer, which I know we'll definitely go into more detail about. As the summer goes on. I think we should move on, though, in terms of the continent, and we should talk about what a summer it should be or could be for PSG. Now, Pochettino's already said, as we've touched upon, him and Kylian are 100% staying in Paris. I don't know why you'd want to leave Paris, but apparently they're all staying. The Madrid deal looked a foregone conclusion. It looked like he was going. He said himself. However, now it looks like things are going to change. Do we think Mbappe is going to stay or go, or do we think they're going to stick and twist with Pochettino? I think it's going to be probably the most exciting one of the summer. PSG dominated last year. So let's see if they dominate the summer again this year. Jamie, what do you think?
I'd be very surprised if both are still there come the start of the new season. I think Poch is going to be sacked at the end of the season. There was already reports that the board have already agreed to sack him and it was going to happen in like the next 24 hours or something. Obviously, that hasn't happened yet. I thought that had been a bit ridiculous. I thought, wait till the end of the season and he'll be gone. Mbappe, he's wanted to move to Madrid. I think that's been something that's sort of well known. And I think it's now it's not now or never because of his age, but I feel like it's just got to be now. That will get their front three up to be Benzema, Victus and Mbappe. It's a formidable front three. And on a free, it's perfect, I think, timing. I don't see anything other than that. If PSG are offering something like 50 million a year for Mbappe to stay with 100 million signing on fee, sometimes money just won't cut it. I know I'm a City fan saying that, but I feel like that is the case with this. Mbappe, I think, will go. Jordan, what's your take on it?
I hope he doesn't, purely for the chain reaction. Obviously, if Mbappe stays at PSG, Madrid will then turn on the books the blank check for Haaland, and then he won't go City. So, secretly, maybe I'm hoping that happens. But I think your point around now or never, I don't agree with, because Mbappe's so young. He could sign another £50 million deal with PSG for 3-4 years and still get that big money dream move to Madrid in 4 years. So I don't completely agree with that desperation to move. Obviously, I made my feelings very clear on PSG as a club anyway earlier in the week. So maybe in that front, Mbappe will just leave because PSG are a state rather than, desperate has to leave now for money. But either way, wherever he ends up, if he does go Madrid, I think you're right. Vinicius Junior, Mbappe, and Benzema as a front three. That's going back, Galacticos style, getting Madrid back up to where they should be. So that will certainly excite Real Madrid fans. But similarly, if Mbappe doesn't work out and Haaland's part of that front three, they're going to be equally as formidable. So I think whatever happens now, good times are ahead for Real Madrid. And it remains to be seen if Poch stays. I'm not convinced he will. I'm really not convinced he will. But we'll see. I think either way, it's definitely an exciting summer ahead for a lot of clubs. And hopefully it's going to be an old school transfer window where there's last minute deals, everyone's running around, and it's all a bit messy. So yeah, hopefully good summer ahead.
Very interesting stuff. I do just want to go back to this because I think the Mbappe story is going to be a massive, massive one. Will he or won't he? I think PSG and Real Madrid definitely both need him more than he needs them. I think Real Madrid, with their money situation, and need to reduce the age of their squad and bring in that little bit of talent is essential. Whereas PSG are going to lose their marquee name. He's born in Paris. He's from Paris. He is their poster boy, and what he generates for them is incredible. If he does go, as well as Poch, who do you think would PSG replace him with? I know they've already got an abundance of riches with Neymar, Di Maria, and of course Messi, but who do you think they'll go out and out and get a replacement for Mbappe?
I think they'll go for a striker. And I think that's probably what you were leading on. I think they'll go for Lewandowski. He's currently the contract situation is going on with Bayern at the moment, but I feel like he's been felt. I'm not too happy being told I can't leave if I want to, while being quite a good servant for him. So that's what I think will happen. But you also got Barca wanting him as well. George?
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. I think if Mbappe goes, also PSG, though, will again enter the race for Harland. Again, blank check. I see it happening. But yeah, it reached you're right. Losing their poster boy, losing Mbappe, young guy, one of the best in the world, is extremely damaging to their brand. And Jamie, as you discussed earlier in the week, this could be the start of a massive downfall for PSG, where their owners take a back seat, scale back their investment. They lose Mbappe. Maybe Messi goes back on a free to Barcelona. Who knows? So yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a very exciting transfer window ahead. Hopefully, it looks like it will be a very exciting summer ahead. Hopefully, as always, let us know your thoughts. We want to know, who's your club? Who should your club sign this summer? Let us know in your comments, and maybe on next week's transfer edition, we can start discussing ideas in other clubs as well. But yeah, that wraps us up. As always, like, comment, and subscribe.
Here we go.